Starting a new book of the Torah, the third book of the Torah, which is Vayikra. And Vayikra is all about karbanot, which is sacrifices. Now, sacrifice is not a very popular word. You know, it implies that you're losing something, you're giving something up. No one signs up to make sacrifices. If you look at our Western civilization, there are a lot of words that start with self, like self-esteem, self-actualization, self-expression, self-fulfillment. We're occupied with what we can get and achieve rather than what we can do for others. It's interesting that it's pointed out that our society is built on the Bill of Rights. Every citizen knows what their rights are, what their entitlements are. Judaism, the Torah doesn't give us a Bill of Rights. It gives us a bill of responsibilities and obligations. And if I fulfill my responsibilities and obligations towards you, and you fulfill them towards me, automatically our rights are taken care of. So if you have a husband and wife, and each one is thinking about what they're entitled to versus what I should be doing for my spouse, which one is going to be the better relationship? So karbanot is about giving, about doing for others. And that's the highest form of connection. When we sacrifice for others, we demonstrate our true love, whether it's towards Hashem or towards our fellow human being. As they say, words are cheap, right? No big deal to express words. It's when you make a sacrifice, that's where you show, whether it's with your spouse, with your children, with Hashem. When you're willing to do something for another, that speaks volumes. And that's why there's a whole Torah book now that we're going to learn for many, many weeks talking about karbanot. And while we don't bring physical sacrifices today, we sacrifice our resources by giving tzedakah. We sacrifice our time. We sacrifice our efforts. And that is the greatest expression of love. And I'll conclude with the story, the famous story of the Talmud, that there were two brothers. One had 7 children and one had no children. And they each owned a farm, and there was a hill in between the two farms. And one night, the brother with the no children is laying in bed, and he says, you know, I don't have any mouths to feed. My brother has 7 children. I should really help him out. So he takes a couple of bundles of wheat, in the middle of the night, he goes, takes it, and he starts climbing up the hill, goes over the other side, and he puts it in his brother's storehouse. The next night, the other brother's laying in bed, and he says, you know, I have young children, they're going to be able to help me in the field. You know, he has no one to help him. He really needs more than I have. So he gets up and takes a bunch of bundles and climbs up the hill, goes to the other side, and he puts it in his storehouse. And this happens night after night, until one night they're both going up at exactly the same time, and they both see each other, and they realize what they've been doing, and they hug and they embrace. And the rabbis say that this is the place where God chose to build the holy temple in Jerusalem. And the story illustrates the idea that the most sacred space in the world is the space where two human beings are thinking about each other and sacrificing for one another. And that's why, although many people, when they get to these books, they say, oh, what are we learning about sacrifices now? We should learn it and realize that this is perhaps the key to much of the happiness that we're seeking in life, and something that is lacking today, a focus on sacrifice, which is counterintuitive to think that through sacrifices will deepen our joy and our happiness in life, but that's what the Torah is telling us now as we begin the book of Vayikra.